Okay, so for this activity, what we're doing is we are focusing on ionic and covalent bonds and ion charges. So in the notes, what we had was it showed us what ion charges each group on the periodic table creates. So when anything in group 1, this first vertical group here, whenever they form an ion, they form +1 charges. Whenever they form an ion, they form +1 charges. Everything in group 1. For group 2, it is +2 charges. The transition metals, which are these groups 3 through 12, those vary, and we're going to focus on that tomorrow. Group 13 forms +3 charges. Group 14, this one's a little bit different. It can form plus or -4. Group 15 is -3. Group 16, -2, -1. And then group 18 does not form ions. Remember, the reason for forming ions is to make an atom more stable. Group 18 already has a full outer ring, enough valence electrons to fill its outer ring. So it does not need to form ions. It's already stable. Okay, so that's why it has a 0 charge. Good. The other thing we focused on is we determined where the metals and the non-metals are on the periodic table. So remember, this stair step that goes through of the metalloids breaks our periodic table in half, and everything on this side of the stair step are our metals, and everything on this side of the stair step are our non-metals. This will be really important as we look at the difference between ionic and covalent bonding. Okay, so making sure you understand this before you start the activity. Then down below here, the first part here wants you to write the ion symbol for the following elements. So we're writing the ion symbol. To write the ion symbol, the first step is to write the symbol for the element. So we'll start with magnesium, Mg. So magnesium is Mg. We go up to our periodic table, and we find where Mg is located on the periodic table, right there. Mg is in group 2, so when it forms ions, it forms +2 ions. So the ion symbol for magnesium would be Mg +2. Mg +2. Let's do one more of these together. We can look at number 8, nitrogen. Okay, so nitrogen, its symbol is an N. We go up to our periodic table, and we find nitrogen on there. Nitrogen is right here on our periodic table in group 15. Group 15 forms -3 ions. So our ion symbol for nitrogen is N -3. So I want you to go through and write the ion symbol for all of the rest of the elements listed here. You write the element symbol, and then you look at what group it's in on the periodic table, and that's what's going to tell you what its ion charge is. So you add that as a superscript, slightly above the element symbol. Okay, that's part 1 of this activity. Part 2 is when you need to decide if the following pairs form an ionic bond or a covalent bond. Okay, an ionic bond or a covalent bond. So we're going to do 2 of these together. Remember, for an ionic bonds form between a metal plus a non-metal. A metal plus a non-metal. Covalent bonds form between 2 non-metals. So it's a non-metal plus a non-metal. Okay, that is the key thing in determining if a bond is ionic or covalent. So we'll start with this first one right here and do this one together. Sulfur and oxygen. So we want to look up at our periodic table and find sulfur. Sulfur's right here. Sulfur is on this side of our stair step, so it is a nonmetal. So what I want you to do is come down here and label this as a nonmetal. And then we go back up and we find oxygen right here on our periodic table. Oxygen is also on this side of the stair step, so it's also a nonmetal. A nonmetal plus a nonmetal is a covalent bond. So on here, you just want to write covalent. Okay? On each of these, I want you to label the element as either a metal or a nonmetal. And then on the line, you write ionic or covalent based on what type of bond it is. Let's do one more together. We're going to look at number 3. So number 3 is magnesium and chlorine. We go up again and we find magnesium, which we've done for our ion charges. It's right here. That is a metal. It's on this side of our stair step, so it's a metal. So we come down here, magnesium is a metal, M. And chlorine, Cl, is right here on our periodic table. And it's on this side of the stair step, so it is a nonmetal. A nonmetal. Anything that is a combination of a metal and a nonmetal is our ionic bond. So number 3 would be an ionic bond. It's a combination of a metal and a nonmetal. So you want to go through and label each of these elements as either a metal or a nonmetal, and then determine if it's an ionic bond, if it's a metal and a nonmetal joined together, or if it's a covalent bond, if it's two nonmetals joined together.